When it comes to creating the kind of intimacy that leaves a man completely captivated, most women overthink the wrong things. They obsess over whether they look perfect, if their body is flawless, or if they're performing some technique the right way. But here's the truth most men will never say out loud. What makes him feel the deepest rush of desire is not perfection, it's confidence. It's the energy you bring into the room, the way you own who you are without apology, that completely takes him over the edge. Think about it. When you walk into a space, what hits harder than anything else is the way you carry yourself. If you're hesitant, constantly second guessing, he feels that hesitation. But when you step into intimacy with a certain presence, when your eyes tell him you know your worth, when your touch says you're not afraid to express yourself, that's what makes his desire skyrocket. Confidence is magnetic. It's not about being the loudest person in the room or trying to dominate. It's about being grounded in your own body, fully comfortable in your own skin. And that comfort gives him permission to relax and enjoy the moment without fear or pressure. Men crave that kind of energy because it shows them you're not here to seek validation. You're here to connect, to enjoy, to experience. And nothing makes him more drawn to you than knowing you're enjoying yourself as much as he is. Because men don't just want a partner who performs for them. They want someone who shares the passion, someone who's not afraid to lose herself in the experience. When you carry confidence into intimacy, you're saying something very powerful without words. I know I'm enough. That message liberates him. It tells him he doesn't have to impress you with tricks or constantly measure up, because you're already bringing energy that makes the whole moment alive. And when he feels that, he naturally starts giving more, trying harder, being more attentive, because he's drawn into your confidence like gravity. That's the ultimate secret most women miss. Think about the times you've felt most turned on by someone. It wasn't just because they looked good. It was because they radiated self-belief. You felt their certainty, and it gave you certainty. Men are exactly the same. The ultimate pleasure secret is that your confidence multiplies his desire. Even if you were to do nothing extraordinary physically, the way you own yourself becomes extraordinary to him. That little smirk when you know he's watching, the way you move without rushing, the way you lean in like you belong there, that's what he remembers long after. And here's something most people don't realize: confidence is contagious. When you bring it, he feels it, and it gives him permission to drop his own insecurities. Suddenly, he's not thinking about whether he's good enough or if he's doing everything perfectly. He's just there, present with you. And presence is the foundation of unforgettable pleasure. That's why confidence is more than just attractive, it's transformational. It changes the entire experience from a performance into a connection. Men may never say it directly, but they crave a woman who doesn't shrink herself, who doesn't hide behind self-doubt in those intimate moments. They crave the one who dares to show up with boldness, with passion, with a sense of, this is who I am, take it or leave it. That's the kind of energy that makes him weak, because it's rare, and the rarest things are always the most desired. So if you want to unlock the kind of pleasure men secretly wish women understood, don't obsess over technique or appearance. Obsess over confidence. Obsess over the way you can show up unapologetically, playfully, fully engaged. Because when you do, you won't just give him pleasure, you'll become unforgettable. When we talk about real pleasure, most people immediately think of the physical side of things, but the truth is physical connection without emotional depth feels empty. What men secretly wish women understood is that the most powerful intimacy is born when the emotional bond is just as strong as the physical. A man can be touched in 1,000 ways, but nothing compares to the feeling he gets when he knows he is truly seen, heard, and valued by the woman he's with. That emotional connection multiplies everything else. It makes the kisses deeper, the touches more electric, and the entire experience unforgettable. A lot of women underestimate how much men crave that level of emotional intimacy. They assume men are simple, that they only care about what happens on the surface. But inside, men are starved for someone who actually gets them. When a woman takes the time to make him feel understood, when she acknowledges his effort, his fears, and even his silent battles, she taps into a part of him that he rarely shows the world. And when that kind of connection is combined with physical closeness, the result is explosive. It's not just about pleasure anymore. It becomes about being chosen, about being valued, about being enough in the eyes of the one person who matters in that moment. Imagine this: two people can be in the same room, touching, kissing, doing all the things couples do, but if there's no emotional bond, it feels mechanical. It might satisfy for a short while, but it doesn't linger. Now compare that with a moment where you've been laughing together, sharing secrets, or just holding eye contact long enough to remind each other that you're more than just bodies. When that physical moment comes, it's not just chemistry, it's a soul-level spark, and men secretly long for that because they know it can't be faked. What amplifies intimacy for him is knowing that his partner is not just there in body, but also in heart. When she expresses desire not just for what he can do, but for who he is, he feels a rush that no physical technique can match. It's the difference between someone who's simply going through motions and someone who is fully invested in making the moment meaningful. Men want to feel like the person they are sharing themselves with isn't just seeking release, but seeking connection, because connection makes everything else 10 times better. There's also something incredibly liberating for a man when he senses that he is emotionally safe. When he knows he can let his guard down, when he doesn't have to perform, when he feels that his presence alone is enough, that's when his best self comes out. That safety creates a space where he can give more, where he can be more attentive, where he can let his passion flow freely. Because deep down, men don't just want to be desired for their bodies or their skills, they want to be desired for their soul. And when a woman communicates that through her attention, her words, and her presence, it changes everything. Men may never admit it out loud, but their ultimate pleasure is tied to admiration and connection. They want to feel chosen beyond the surface, to feel like their partner is genuinely excited about them as a person. That emotional closeness makes every touch, every kiss, every whisper more powerful. Without it, intimacy is just another moment. With it, intimacy becomes a memory that he carries for a lifetime. So the secret isn't in chasing perfection or mastering some complicated technique. The secret is learning to combine the physical with the emotional, to lean into the connection that makes him feel not just wanted, but deeply cherished. That's the kind of pleasure that men wish women knew they craved, and it's the kind of pleasure that leaves both people feeling completely fulfilled. One of the greatest secrets men wish women knew is how powerful anticipation really is. Most people think pleasure is only about the moment when everything finally happens, but what actually drives him crazy is the build-up that comes before. The teasing glances, the playful pauses, the slow unveiling of what's to come, that's what heightens his desire and makes the final moment unforgettable. Anticipation is like a spark that builds into a fire, and the longer it's allowed to burn, the more explosive the outcome becomes. Men don't always say this out loud, but they love when a woman knows how to play with timing because it turns intimacy into an experience instead of just an act. Think about the times you've waited for something you really wanted. A gift, a surprise, even a vacation. The waiting, the imagining, the daydreaming is often just as thrilling, if not more thrilling, than the actual moment itself. It's the same with intimacy. When a man feels that delicious tension of not knowing exactly when or how something is going to happen, his mind starts racing, his body becomes more alive, and his desire intensifies. By the time he finally experiences it, The build-up has multiplied the impact. That's why anticipation is one of the most overlooked but powerful secrets to ultimate pleasure. The art of anticipation isn't about withholding or playing games in a negative way. It's about slowing down and savoring. It's about letting your energy and presence speak before anything else does. Sometimes it's as simple as holding eye contact a little longer than expected, brushing past him lightly without rushing, or smiling in a way that tells him you know exactly what you're doing. Those little moments send signals that light him up inside because they create a storyline. And when intimacy has a story, it always feels more meaningful and exciting than something that just happens out of nowhere. Men thrive on that kind of playful suspense. They want to feel like they're being pulled into an adventure rather than just following a routine. And anticipation creates that sense of adventure. It tells him, you're about to get something amazing, but not just yet. It keeps him engaged, keeps him guessing, and makes him hang on every move. And the truth is, men don't only enjoy it, they crave it because it awakens their imagination. It makes them attentive to every detail, every gesture, every breath. Another part of anticipation that's so powerful is how it makes the woman feel. When you take your time, when you're not in a rush to reach the end, you're showing confidence. You're showing that you're comfortable in your own skin, that you know the moment is already yours. That energy is intoxicating to a man because it's not just about what's happening physically, it's about the unspoken message behind it. The message says, I'm in control of this experience and I'm enjoying every second of making you wait for it. That's what makes him melt, because he feels he's with someone who isn't just sharing her body, but sharing her power, her playfulness, and her presence. Men may never admit how much they enjoy being teased in this way, but it's one of the deepest truths about desire. When a woman knows how to build anticipation, she's giving him something far greater than just pleasure. She's giving him an experience that feels unique, one he won't find anywhere else. That's why anticipation is not just a technique, it's a mindset. It's choosing to slow down, to play, to let the tension grow until he can't take it anymore. And when that final moment comes, the intensity is multiplied beyond what either of you expected. The secret men wish women knew is that pleasure isn't just about speed or climax. It's about the delicious in between. It's about the slow burn that makes the fire irresistible. Master that, and you'll discover how anticipation can turn even the simplest touch into something unforgettable. One of the most overlooked secrets about men is how much they actually want open communication in intimacy, but the fear of judgment keeps them silent. Many women think men always know what to do, or that they're naturally confident in every situation. But in reality, men often crave guidance, reassurance, and even feedback. The problem is, most men are terrified of being criticized in those vulnerable moments, so instead of asking questions or experimenting, they stick to what feels safe. And what feels safe often becomes predictable, even mechanical. What men truly wish women understood is that the right kind of communication can turn that safe, predictable intimacy into something extraordinary. Communication without judgment is the real key here. It's not about pointing out mistakes or saying you're doing it wrong. It's about expressing what you like, what excites you, and what makes you feel connected in a way that feels encouraging rather than critical. When a man hears your desires expressed with excitement instead of complaint, it gives him confidence. And when he feels confident, he naturally wants to give more, try harder, and go deeper into the connection. That's the fuel he needs, not pressure, not judgment, but genuine appreciation and clear signals about what feels good to you. Most men secretly long for that kind of openness because it takes the guesswork away. They don't want to feel like they're fumbling in the dark, hoping they're getting it right. They want to know. But what they don't want is to feel embarrassed or made small in the process. That's why tone matters so much. A simple shift in how something is said can completely change how it lands. Saying, "I love it when you do this," feels like an invitation. Saying, "Don't do it that way," feels like rejection. And in intimacy, rejection cuts deeply because it attacks not just his skill, but his sense of being enough for you. When communication becomes free of judgment, intimacy transforms into a safe space where both partners can explore without fear. Men feel braver to try new things, to ask questions, and to actually listen to what their partner wants. And that's when real pleasure happens, when both people feel free to speak, to guide, and to learn from each other without shame. That freedom builds trust, and trust builds passion. It allows both of you to be present instead of performing, which makes the entire experience more authentic and fulfilling. Another part of this secret is understanding how much men want to feel appreciated when they're giving. If he tries something new and you respond with genuine pleasure or even gentle encouragement, that fuels him more than you know. It tells him he's on the right track, and men are wired to respond to that kind of positive feedback. It's not about stroking his ego. It's about creating a cycle where he feels rewarded for paying attention to your needs, which makes him even more attentive in the future. At the heart of it, communication without judgment is about making intimacy collaborative instead of competitive. It's not about one person proving themselves. It's about two people discovering together. Men may not always say it, but they deeply value a woman who can guide them with kindness, express her desires with clarity, and make the whole process playful instead of stressful. That's when intimacy stops being just physical and becomes an emotional experience that stays with him long after. So the real secret isn't silence, and it's not criticism either. It's communication spoken with warmth, curiosity, and appreciation. Men crave that because it makes them feel capable, connected, and free. And when a man feels free of judgment in intimacy, that's when he gives himself completely. That's when the pleasure becomes something both people never forget. One of the things men rarely put into words, but secretly wish women understood, is how much they crave variety and playfulness in intimacy. Routine is comfortable, but it can also become predictable, and predictability is the enemy of excitement. Men don't just want the same script played over and over. They long for those moments where something unexpected happens, where laughter mixes with desire, where spontaneity keeps the experience alive. It's not about needing constant change for the sake of it, but about keeping intimacy feeling fresh, alive, and something to look forward to instead of something that feels like an obligation. Variety doesn't have to mean something extreme. It's often in the smallest changes that the biggest sparks are created. Trying a different pace, a new setting, or even introducing playful teasing can transform the way he experiences you. What men desire is that sense of unpredictability, the thrill that he doesn't know exactly what's coming next. That uncertainty makes him more attentive, more invested, and more excited. And the beauty is, you don't need to reinvent everything. You just need to be willing to add layers, to mix playfulness with passion, to keep him on his toes in the best possible way. Playfulness is one of the most powerful forms of intimacy, yet it's often forgotten. Somewhere along the way, many people start taking intimacy too seriously, focusing on performance, perfection, or pressure to get everything right. But what men wish women knew is that when you bring in laughter, teasing, and light-heartedness, it takes away the pressure and replaces it with joy. That kind of energy makes intimacy feel like a shared adventure rather than a test. A playful touch, a mischievous smile, or even laughing together when something doesn't go perfectly. That's what keeps the spark alive and makes the experience memorable. When intimacy becomes playful, it also creates safety. It tells him you're not expecting a flawless performance, that you're there to enjoy, to explore, to connect. That message frees him from the weight of trying to prove himself. And ironically, that's when he shows up even better. Men often perform their best not when they're pressured, but when they feel relaxed and invited into a moment where anything is possible. Playfulness gives him that freedom, and it also gives you both the chance to build a deeper bond because you're sharing not just passion but joy. Another reason variety and playfulness matter so much is because they build anticipation and keep desire alive long after the moment is over. When a man never knows exactly how you're going to surprise him, whether through your energy, your approach, or the little twists you add, it keeps his mind engaged with you. He'll think about it afterwards, replaying the unpredictability, feeling drawn back to you because he knows it will never feel boring or robotic. That's the difference between intimacy that fades and intimacy that grows stronger over time. The truth is, men don't want someone who just goes through the motions. They want someone who can make intimacy feel alive every single time. They want that mix of passion and fun, that sense that with you, it's never just physical, it's an experience. And experiences are what stay with people, not routines. The memory of a playful, surprising, exciting moment lingers far longer than something that felt predictable and scripted. So the secret is not perfection, not complexity, but creativity and willingness to play. That's what makes him crave you, not just physically, but emotionally, because he knows being with you means more than intimacy. It means joy, excitement, and connection. Variety and playfulness are what keep the fire burning, and they're what men secretly wish every woman knew could transform the way he feels about her forever. What men rarely say out loud, but deeply wish women understood, is how much admiration fuels them. At their core, men are driven by the desire to feel valued, to feel that who they are and what they bring is truly appreciated. When a man senses admiration from a woman, it doesn't just boost his ego, it transforms the entire way he shows up in intimacy. Admiration is the spark that makes him want to give more, to be more attentive, to put his whole self into creating pleasure. Without it, even the most passionate moments can feel empty. With it, the simplest touch becomes unforgettable. Men often carry a silent fear of not being enough. They may look confident, they may act bold, but deep down many are wondering, am I satisfying her? Does she really desire me? Does she admire me for more than what I can do? That unspoken insecurity is something few men admit, but it drives so much of how they behave. And this is why admiration is the ultimate fuel, because when a man feels genuinely admired, those fears dissolve. He no longer feels the need to perform or prove himself because he knows he already matters to her. That knowledge allows him to relax, to be present, and to give his best without hesitation. Admiration doesn't have to be grand or complicated. It often shows up in the smallest, most authentic ways. The way you look at him with genuine desire, the way you compliment his effort, the way you acknowledge something about him that you appreciate. Those are the things that make him light up inside. Even a simple whisper of, "I love when you do that," carries enormous weight. It tells him he's not just doing something right, it tells him he's wanted. And for a man, feeling wanted is one of the deepest pleasures of all. The beauty of admiration is that it creates a cycle. The more admired he feels, the more he gives. The more he gives, the more connected you both become. It's like fuel that keeps the fire burning, making every experience richer. Men don't just want physical release, they want to feel like they are your hero in those moments, that their presence excites you, that they are the one who makes you come alive. And admiration is the bridge that communicates that without a single word. Think about how powerful it feels when someone admires you, not just for how you look, but for who you are, for the energy you bring, for the way you make them feel. It awakens confidence, it deepens desire, and it creates a bond that feels unshakable. Men crave that same experience. They want to know that beyond all the physical elements, the woman they're with actually sees them and celebrates them. That's what admiration really is. It's a mirror that reflects back their worth in the most intimate of ways. When admiration is present, intimacy becomes more than physical. It becomes affirming. It tells a man that he's more than enough, that his effort, his presence, his passion matter deeply. And that knowledge doesn't just make the moment better, it makes the relationship stronger. Men may not always articulate it, but being admired is what keeps them deeply connected, what makes them want to stay, and what makes them remember you long after the moment is over. So the secret isn't perfection, it isn't technique, and it isn't comparison. The secret is admiration. Show him that you notice him, that you value him, that you truly desire him, not just for what he gives, but for who he is. That's the ultimate fuel, and it's the one thing men wish women knew could turn ordinary pleasure into something extraordinary and unforgettable.